there, Karen here. I know I've been away for a while, been lots going on around here, but I'm doing this layout for my daughter and her boyfriend to put up in their room. It's a picture of them on their last holiday. It's a beautiful sunset shot, and I just wanted to put it into a frame for them and make a nice layout. So I'm using my watercolours, and I'm trying to make a bit of a background to match the colours in the photo, which is why I keep holding the photo over, just to try and get that sort of blue shade from the sky. And at the bottom half, I'm trying to get the warmer tones from the sunset. So that's kind of the line of the horizon there that I'm just marking across there, because there was a bit of a purple line on the photo. And then below it, I'm going for the warm yellows and oranges that were part of the sunset sort of colours. A bit of a rough background, so to kind of enhance the colours in the photo as much as anything, and a lot of it of course will get covered up, but I tried to just create a background that would emulate the colours in the photograph, as you can see. So that's what I'm aiming to do. So here I think I'm just trying to make the background a little bit deeper, because it looked a little bit too washed out for my liking. So I'm just making the blue a bit deeper here. And also, oh, excuse me, I'm going to try and do a little bit of the sunset across the bottom there, across the horizon. There's a bit of a sunset on the photograph, and I'm trying to do a bit of yellow here, but it doesn't really quite work out. It all gets covered up, so I had to find another way of doing it. So that's why I've not shown you a lot of. I played around with that yellow for quite a while. As you can see, it doesn't actually appear in the final layout, and I've just backed it onto some dark blue cardstock as well. Now I'm using a bit of the Heidi Swapp Colour Shine in Butter again to give it that yellow look of the sun, and it does all it all gets covered up. But I'm having a go at trying to pick out what was on the photograph. Now I'm going to do some mixed media. With the modelling paste that I have. It's Liquitex modelling paste with a little dash of white acrylic paint, just to make sure it stays white looking when it's dried. And I think I'm going to use, this is I think you call it sequin waste. It's just something I've had for years, just a strip of sequin waste. It's tiny stars. And I've used it a few times. I haven't used it for quite a while, and I just quite like this, just having some tiny stars along the side of each side of the layout. So I'm just going to, just here and there, do a little strip of stars. I do have to keep adding bits, because as I work on my layers of the back of the photograph, bits of it get a bit too much gets covered up. And now I'm picking out a load of scraps. These scraps just came from my scrap box, and I've picked out some colours in some warm peachy yellow tones, and also some blues, to try and back my photograph with colours that enhance again, pick out the colours in the photograph. So I'm just going through them all, trying to decide which colours work best. And you can see where I was trying to do that yellow sun there. There was that spot of yellow sun in the middle of the photograph, and I tried to recreate that, but I had to find a different way of doing it in the end, because the paint that I put on the paper on the background does get covered up by all the layers that I end up using for the photograph. So I've got this. I don't know what any of these papers are, because, as I say, they're all in my scrap box, so they're just little pieces. And I use a combination of blues and peachy colours. I'm just trying them out, seeing which ones work best. I like that stripy paper first, because it had both the colours that I was trying to pick out in it, the blue and the peach. So I'll put that on first, but I didn't have a very big piece, so I could only put it over on that one side. And then I've got a layer of a deeper corally colour, I suppose you'd call it, which I've just torn across the bottom there. And then I'm going to go for the blue stripe. So I'm just picking out a bit of both colours really, just so that the colours in the photo are picked out, but only very narrow borders. I'm not trying to do big layers. I had a look at this yellow heart paper. I think that's probably an Amy Tan paper, but in the end I've picked out this one that's shaded. It's the yellow at the top and it shades down to coral. That's the one I end up using I don't use the stripy one in the end. And that strip there that I had in my box, I think that's going to make it, that will make it onto the layout, but as at the top of the page. And then I've got that strip there, which I think is a Simple Stories from the Posh line, possibly. That coral, I'm going to use that across the back of the photograph. I'm just trying to find some bits and pieces just to back the photo, all trying to enhance it all as much as I can. Now putting on some foam to lift it up. I'm playing around with all these different scraps that I've got. I'm trying to decide what to use. So now I've got one of my EK Success border punches out, and I'm just going to punch. It's quite a stiff one, so I had a bit of trouble, but I managed to punch out a strip that I'm going to put behind the photograph. And I'm playing around with this lighter colour, and I'm making it into a bit of a banner, but in the end I don't think that makes it onto the layout. It almost covers up the other piece too much, and it just, I don't know, I just didn't really like it there in the end. Similarly with this yellow stripe, I thought I'll have a go with putting that somewhere. So just playing around with things I could put behind the photo. I thought that might work, pick out the yellow. So I'm just doing the fishtail banner thing at the end. But in the end, I might take that out as well and decide that I don't need it to be quite as long. And we're just going to trim down that last piece of backing paper. I really like that. It very much looks like a sunset paper. And it very much, I think it really enhances or goes really well with the colours in the photograph. So as you can see, once I've got all that behind it, a lot of the mixed media is covered up. So I've decided I really need to put a bit more of the little stars. I'm going to put a bit more of that on. I'll start again, mix it up, and just putting a little bit more, just bringing out the modelling paste just a bit wider on the page. So just so you've got a bit more peeking out either side. Okay, so I've done that, and I'm going to put a bit more on. I kept waiting for it to dry, and then I thought, no, it's not quite right yet. So just putting a little bit more on again. So now I'm finishing off my layers, and I'm happy with those. And you can see there's a reasonable amount of the modelling paste is now showing either side, so I'm happy with that. And this strip, it just as it came out of my box with that scallopy edge, and I thought, well, I quite like that. I'm just going to pop it at the top of the page. I'm still deciding, is there anything else I need to do, or I need to put that behind, but it was a bit too long. I'm just going to trim it up. There we are. I'm happy with that. Just using my Scotch tacky glue to get that stuck down. Now I decided I still want to try and do something about showing that little bit of the sun just sinking down behind the horizon. So I found I had some yellow doilies. I thought, well, one of those might just work, just to give that impression of the sun at the back of behind the photo. It just picks out the little tiny bit of yellow as it sinks below the horizon. So I thought, well, that works quite well for me. I quite like that. But before I stick everything down, I'm just going to do some stamping with my, I think that's a Chamel roller stamp, and it's got various phrases on it, none of which I can remember. Things like travel far away, or I can't remember what they will say now. It's too small to read from here, and I can't look at the layout because it's now on the wall in their bedroom. Because they moved in this weekend, and they quite liked it. They said they did. They said they liked the picture, and it's gone straight on the wall. So I can't look at it to see what those phrases say. Hopefully you can see them better than I can. So now I've stuck it down with the little yellow doily poking out. And I've just picked out a few pieces from my coloured stash. I've got a box of peachy coloured ephemera, die cut pieces. So I'm just tucking a few bits in here and there to pick out the colours again. So that's just I think it's got the days of the week on the one on the left side. And this was a die cut, the Love. I thought it went very well with the colours, and I thought that might be quite useful to use for my title. And there's a couple of backpacks there which seemed appropriate because they were on a camping holiday. So I thought the backpacks, and they were in the right colours, which worked quite well. A blue one and a peachy one, so that went really well with everything else. So I popped those in. And I'm just picking out a few other bits that I've, you can see in my little tray, I've just gone through my stash of blue die cuts and peachy, yellowy die cuts, and I'm just tucking a few bits here and there just to give the layout a bit more interest. That's a chipboard piece called Dream. The colour was good, but it was the word Dream I thought was too bold in that position, so that doesn't stay on the layout. I'm just trying out a few things here. I've got that scallop, orange scallop piece, which doesn't stay there either. I'm just playing around with some bits and pieces, trying to tuck them in. Now I'm having a dive into my stash of flowers. So I wanted to put a few flowers on here as well. I'm into my flowers at the moment. So I've decided the flowers are going to go around the bottom of the photograph. So I'm just trying to pick out colours again that go with the rest of the layout. Peaches and creams. Nothing too bold. Some nice soft colours. I don't want the flowers to take away from the photograph. I just want it to just give it a bit of a frame, really. Just going through various little collections. They're all mostly Prima flowers. I've been on a bit of a flower kick lately, so there we are. I think they're in place. I'm not sure if they're stuck down yet. And then I found this yellow flower, this bright yellow flower, which actually looks like a sun. And I thought, well, I quite like that there. That's just finishes off that little area of yellow at the top, which is supposed to emulate the idea of the sun. And so I thought I'd put that there. And I want to keep that word love, but I've decided that love on its own wasn't enough, so I've made it love life. And although I'd stuck it down, I had to move it up a bit to make room for life, but I managed to get rid of all the bits of glue that were showing, and then I've just popped life underneath because it didn't fit next to it, didn't look right next to it. So I've just popped that in underneath there. And now all the flowers are stuck down. I'm just fishing out a couple more and I want to just squeeze in. And I'm covering up that label that says grateful for you. Decided it didn't work for me, so I found another one I'm going to pop over the top because I'd stuck that one down and then changed my mind, and I decided to go with the peach colour and Hello Happiness rather than grateful for you. I thought it seemed to work better on this layout, and that because that's quite a deep flower, it needed a bit of popping up because I've got 2 layers of foam on my photo, so it needed popping up on some little pop dots. So that's what I've done with the flower, and I decided that scalloped piece looked quite nice at the top there, so I'm just going to stick that on there. Get it straight. So next thing, what's going to happen next? I can't remember. All right, I'm going to put some. So I've popped that little butterfly in there, and it needed some pearls down the middle to make its body. So I've just got some little strip of pearls I'm going to stick there. That makes it look a little bit more dimensional. And now I'm going to put the date. It doesn't need any journaling. It's all but I do like to put the date on every layout. I think it's important to know when these photos, or when it's from. And I'm going to put the place as well. I'm just going to tuck that in. I've got some Heidi Swap glitter alphas. It's actually a planner set because they're quite tiny, but they're perfect just to tuck the word Wales, which is where they were. They were in Wales for a weekend, and there's a few gold glitter hearts on that pack as well. So I'm going to put a few of those on as well. So I've just tucked the word Wales there so that so they'll always remember where it was and when it was that this photo was taken. I think where and when is the bare minimum that you need to put onto a layout, really. And now I've just tipped out all my buttons. I've got the buttons all mixed together in a box. I haven't got them colour coded. I quite like just rifling through them to find colours that go. And I'm just picking some out just to dot around the layout. So a few blue ones and some peachy coloured, and just picking ones out that I can just tuck in. Some are going to be tucked in around the flowers, and some are and I'm going to put some at the top there. Actually, when I put the layout in the frame that I bought, one of these deep 12 by 12 frames, those buttons at the top there completely disappear. They get covered up, but I didn't know that, and it was too late to worry about it once they'd all been stuck down. And I'm just tucking a few in around in and out of the flowers, just to give another little layer of a bit of dimension, a little bit of interest. And as you can see on that strip on the left there, it's got the days of the week. So I've pointed an arrow toward the Saturday because that was the day. So I thought might as well put a little wood veneer arrow there just to say it was a Saturday. I didn't need to do that. I just thought I would, just to give another little piece of dimension on there. And I'm trying to stick these buttons down. They take a bit of sticking sometimes, especially as the top of the layout was popping up a bit because of all the mixed media. It wasn't laying very flat, so it was quite difficult to get those buttons to stay on, but they do in the end. And there's a bit of Heidi Swap in gold. I'm just splattering around. Good thing I put that paper there because it's splattered right in the middle. Would have been in the middle of the photograph. So there we are. I think we're just about there now. There's just a few splatters, and that's it. And then it's gone into its frame, and they seem really happy with it. So I am too. So thank you for joining me. Please subscribe if you like this video, and join me again soon. Goodbye.